Well, hello, my friend. I'm super happy to be here because today with me is Dr. Yanina Gomez. And today we're going to be talking about her brand new book, Today's Working Artist, Weekly Mindful Reflections to Awaken Your Potential. This is Dr. Yanina's brand new book. My name is Sergio Gomez. I'm an artist, curator, gallery owner, author, and co-founder of the Art Next Level program. And my goal with this channel is to make marketing and art business easy so that you can grow your art career, find new opportunities, sell more art, and spend more time creating in the studio. So if you like that, make sure you click on the subscribe button and click on the little bell so that you receive notifications of our future videos. We are inside 33 Contemporary Gallery space within the Palm Beach Art and Design showroom. And we have the Women's Month exhibition going on right now, the Modern Female. It runs from March and April, and it's like the perfect setup, to sit down.
It's just beautiful art.
And talk to you, exactly, talk to you about this amazing book. I know you've been working on this super hard all last year. 2024, you spent a lot of time writing. I know this because we live together. We are husband and wife.
Yes.
And for those of you who may not know Dr. Yanina Gomez, she's a psychologist. She has been working also with artists for a long time, over 10 years now.
Yeah.
And, we are really looking forward to diving deeper into this book. What was the idea behind it? Where it all started? And more importantly, what it can do for our art career as artists. So looking forward to chat with you.
Yes,
to
it's
hear
going to
about
be a good conversation.
Exactly.
Yes.
So first of all, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Yes, for a beautiful sunny day here in South Florida. It's just fantastic.
It's always nice to wake up to a brand new day with when the sun is out. So Dr. Yanina, let's start with, what's the main kind of a premise with Today's Working Artist? For any artists who may be walking through the bookstore and they see Today's Working Artist, what's the main premise of it?
Yeah, the whole idea is that Today's Working Artist is more like a companion. Okay. It's a whole year journey where we're going to walk together through different mindset and emotional challenges that artists often experience. And I identified those specific issues or topics based on my experience with working with artists during my one-on-one wellness sessions. So these are the top topics that come up when I'm working with artists when it comes to your art practice and your art career. And the way I wrote this book that is different from my previous books is the whole idea that it's more like a companion. And what I mean by that? What I mean by that is that it's written in weekly reflections. And each chapter is 1 month. So each chapter has 4 reflections. And on each reflection, there is exercises, inner reflection questions. I invite you through the process of reading about that topic and also reflecting on how that topic is influencing or affecting you in any way or not. And also I walk you through a process of figuring it out. Is this something that I need to work on? And I share reflective questions and I share different exercises that will help you to identify those areas that you need to take action. But I give you an entire week to process that and take action, right? So it's just I have a very simple process, which is reflect, plan, and act. So you reflect on the topic, you figure out what is it that is landing on you, or how is it landing on you, and what are you going to do about it. So each chapter is a different topic, and each week has different exercises.
And I love how you put it as a companion, right? It's not a book that perhaps you buy, you read it from cover to cover like we normally do, highlight the things that you like, then you put it back in the shelf.
This is not this kind of book.
And then you don't see it for a long time, but rather it's a book that's supposed to be worn out. Actually, mine, the corners are already a bit worn out. And that's a good thing, right? It means that you're using it and that you do the weekly reading, which, by the way, they are short readings. Don't think that you're going to be reading like pages and pages. It's typically a couple of pages when, you first introduce that month idea.
Right, I introduced the topic,
And then you get the weekly reading, which are short readings. And then there's work, right? There's either questions or little exercises for us to do.
And they're reflections.
Reflections, exactly, exactly. And I think this is nice because for us as artists, we need that motivation. We need that focus. We need something that can help us, in the good days and sometimes also in the bad days, right? The days when, your mind is working against you and like, I didn't get in the show that I applied, or I
Right.
didn't get the grant, or
Yes,
why should I try
yes.
it again?
Or I'm creatively stuck,
I'm creatively stuck,
or maybe
exactly.
mindset blocks are hindering you, and you hear that inner critic, telling you what you cannot do,
Right.
those things.
So let's talk about the inner critic, because you started the book with the inner critic, and something that caught my attention when I started reading the book is that you actually invite the inner critic to sit with us as the artist, right? Like this
Yes.
little table,
Yeah.
whereas in the past perhaps we have thought about, well, you want to put the inner critic on a table outside the studio,
Yes.
you're gonna
Get
get
rid
him
of it.
out,
Yeah. Get
put
rid
him
of
in the
it. Yeah.
corner. Exactly. You're
Yeah.
actually saying, no, let's bring the inner critic into the table and let's have
Hmm.
a conversation with the inner critic. So
Yes.
tell me a little bit about that dynamic, and why do we want to do that versus like, hey, I don't want anything to do with my inner critic, because that
Yeah.
person might be not very nice.
Right. The inner critic is usually not very nice. And
Hmm.
basically, just to give you a little bit of background, the
Yeah.
inner critic is a part of you that is a protector, right?
Yes.
This is a protector that has been born out of either trauma or negative experiences, right?
Hmm.
And this protector wants to protect you from future or possible disappointments or things that might not go as planned. So this part of you wants you to stay in your comfort zone.
Right.
So when you start to experiment and go beyond your comfort zone, there's something inside you, and that inner critic immediately is going to be like, oh, there she goes again, or there he goes again, wandering around and steering the system, right? So we
Steering the
need
path. Yeah.
to either stop her or him, or you make things a little bit more complicated so that we can come back to the comfort zone, right? And you oftentimes, basically, that inner critic is just reminding you or bringing all those past failures and negative thinking and all these catastrophic possibilities, right? So that you stop. Right. And that's usually that inner critic just wants that okay, let's just stay where we are. But when you go beyond that, you want more. That's when the inner critic becomes active. So that inner critic is part of you, and that's one thing that I always like to clarify. It's part of you. So it's like having a friend who is like very negative and toxic, or a partner. You, instead of fighting with that person, you want to understand its intention. You want to understand why this person is that way.
Kind of what triggers it.
Yeah, what triggers that type of attitude or behavior or these words. So I invite you through the book, and through these reflections, I invite you through to have that conversation with that inner critic. What are its intentions? Why so harsh? What are you trying to protect me from? How can we, considering that you're protecting me, how can we reframe that narrative so that instead of pulling me down, you lift me up and we can work together? So it's almost working with getting to know that inner critic to the point that this enemy becomes your ally.
Right.
But the
Okay.
inner critic will be there, activated, because it feels that you're not ready for it, that you cannot do it. So it's almost as you have to show that inner critic that yes, you're in control. That's the self is in control. The self can do this, and if we work together, we're gonna get farther.
Right.
So
I love it. And the inner critic, I think, is something that we all have, right?
yes,
It's
yeah,
not
we all
unique to
do.
artists or
No,
unique to a
oh no,
certain
no, no, no,
person, but it's
no.
unique to others. And sometimes it's even like silly things that, even though, we have experienced that is not true, but it's still that, I'll give you an example here at the gallery. We are here at 33 Contemporary. We have done now, since we started the gallery some 20 years ago, we have done literally a couple hundred shows or
Yes,
more,
yeah,
because we have so many. And I still, before I open a show, like, what if nobody comes? What if nobody shows up?
yeah, yeah,
Because we had that one show many, many years ago, like I think it was like maybe our fourth show when the gallery opened, in which hardly anybody showed up. So
yeah,
I guess that is still like, what if this time
yeah,
also
yeah,
nobody shows up?
yeah,
And
yeah.
of course, in all these, hundreds of people, thousands of people have gone through the gallery and
Mm.
openings and so on, and people do show up. But it's
Yes,
still that
again and
little,
again. Yeah, yeah,
voice, that inner critic, or what if something's not working? The
yeah,
what ifs that
yeah,
keeps
yeah.
triggering it.
Right,
Then
right,
when I see
right.
people coming in, like, whew, People
Yeah,
shut
yeah, yeah,
up.
yeah, for sure. And that's the thing, it's the inner critic, it's there. It will
Hmm.
always be there. And then you have to make a decision. Are
Hmm.
you going to live with that inner critic for the rest of your life in this so toxic relationship? Or would you rather get to know that inner critic, that part of you that is really concerned about your well being, but has not learned to express that to you in a healthier way, right?
Right.
So that kind of dynamic, looking for a healthier relationship between you and that inner critic, that once in a while it's going to come up, you're probably going to do
Do
the
its thing.
exercises, and it's going to be good for a while, and then that inner critic is going to tell you again how lazy you are or whatever it is. But again, as you gain these strategies, as you start getting to know your inner critic and have these conversations, then
Hmm.
things will flow a little smoother. And
Mm.
that's my intention when it comes to that specific, those two chapters.
Chapter one
And
and two.
I made it chapter 1 and 2. The first one is connecting with it, because I don't think that normal people sit down and say, you know what, I need to connect with my inner critic, you know what, I need to partner with my inner critic. That's not something that we think about. So you have to be intentional about it, and it's a process, it's a journey, which is why I separated the connecting with the inner critic and the partner with the inner critic
Mm.
into different
Two
chapters.
different things. Yeah.
And it's a journey that you go through, and you take your time. But at the end of the day, you want to experience harmony within you.
Hmm.
And probably your audience is thinking, what is she talking about, parts and this and that, and I just wanted to clarify this a little bit. And basically, when I talk about parts, some people call it voices, some people call it parts. I prefer calling them parts, because there's different parts within
Within
us.
you. Yeah.
We're so complex. We human beings are very complex, and there are different parts within us that work together to make us who we are. And a simple example of this is, like, I have shared this before. When you have to make a very important decision, you have a little voice or a part of you that says, go for it, you're ready, this is your time, you do it now. But then you have this other voice or this other part that says, oh, no, 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 we don't want to go through this. You have been through this path before, and it has been a disaster,
Hmm.
and we don't want to go through this. And then you have that other part within you that says, oh, this is a brand new adventure, let's get ready. Oh, this is a brand new idea that you have, let's just have this serious.
It's like in the
And
cartoons before, right? Had like little angel and little
yeah,
devil
yeah.
almost.
And now, but these are like different little voices. I don't know if you guys have watched the movie Inside Out, something like that,
Something. Yeah.
something like that, that is inside of us. And it's important that we start getting to know this part, and have that inner dialogue, so that your inner system becomes more harmonious and work together. Not otherwise, they all want to protect you, and they're pulling apart. And that's the journey that I walk you through when it comes to today's working
Okay.
artists. I walk you through that journey of finding those parts that are, that are so concerned about rejection, those parts that are concerned about anxiety, those parts that distract you, because there's so many things going on, and distractions are, that again, it's another way of keeping you away from moving forward and growing and developing. So there is a whole month about that. Yeah, so it's just getting to know all those inner parts and how they work, and somehow you to get put them together and work harmoniously, for the benefit of the self, which is you.
Right.
And when things like that happen, when you're able to do that, guess what happens with your creative juices?
They flow. They flow. They
Exactly,
flow better.
exactly.
Well, I love what you have said so far on the book, and this book is not the whole book is not about the inner critic, right? This is
No,
just kind
no,
of
no,
how it
no.
starts.
That's
But
only a couple of months, a
yeah,
couple of
I want to kind
chapters.
of dig in a little bit, so our friends have an idea of, some of the topics that you cover in the book. So I think
Mm-hmm.
it's super interesting. Breaking free of mindset blocks. So you
Yes,
talk about the mindset blocks. You talk about also thriving through uncertainty,
yes.
which perhaps it's a very timely chapter
Mm-hmm.
too. And
Mm-hmm.
as we face uncertainty in different ways,
Mm-hmm.
how we can thrive, not only
Right.
survive but thrive.
Yeah, because what
Mhm.
happens with
Yes.
uncertainty most of the time, if we're not careful, it will take you to that deep, deep hole. and it will paralyze you. And then you start experiencing anxiety episodes or panic attacks and all these different things. And that's why I wanted to write a chapter on that and invite you to work on that for a whole month, because you can still thrive during uncertain times. Right. You can. We are able to do that when we put our mindset in the right place.
Right. And that is chapter 4. So chapter 5 is exploring my authenticity and purpose. And purpose, yes. So for everyone, chapter 6, conquering fear and boldness with boldness. Sorry,
conquering fear.
So chapter 6 is conquering fear with boldness.
Yes.
Great topic. Chapter 7, embracing my inner strength and confidence. I think that's a really good one too. Chapter 8, gaining clarity through mindful decision making. Our career is all about decisions. Should I do this? Should I do that? We're making decisions every day, all the time, not only inside the studio, but outside the studio, in the art business. So it's super important. Chapter number 9, bouncing back, rejection and redirection. I love that one.
Rejection as redirection.
As redirection, yes, because we do have, a lot of experiences as artists, with rejection, where something doesn't go as planned, or you apply to something you did not get in. The collector said no last minute, or all these things that can happen, and often those rejections can really paralyze you.
Yeah, because it happens to one of the things, and one of the reasons why I put that chapter in there is because again and again I work with artists who have gone through rejections, and the rejection has become part of their identity.
Almost like defined by the rejection.
Yes, and they define their artwork, and they define themselves as artists based on rejection. And I'm like, well, no, rejection should not define you, but rather is a sign that it's time to
redirection.
It's a sign. It's not an identity. So I walk you through that process of maneuvering that, and how, if this is something that you perceive that you're struggling with, how can you use rejection as a way to filter out what it's not for you at this moment, so that you can focus on the opportunities that are there for you, but you are not seeing it because you are so stuck with that rejection.
Right, exactly.
So, yes.
Yeah, you cannot see beyond what you just experienced. All right, you also have chapter number 9. Chapter number 10, you talk about finding flow amidst distractions. I think that chapter is for me. Chapter 11.
I did not say it.
Chapter 11, unlocking serenity within. Love that. Chapter 12, preventing burnout. Again, we live in a world where we're always running, the deadlines, the marketing, everything else. Burnout is something that I have experienced myself, and I know many artists have as well.
Yes, so me too.
Really good to have that. And then you have a bonus chapter, which is chapter 13, infusing my art with faith. Also as a very important chapter. And something that you mentioned the other day when we were doing an interview, where you talk about, you can go through this book as you normally would go, like chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, or you can start in the chapter that you need the most, right?
Lands within your soul right
to start
away.
With. Yes, exactly. So you can go back and forth. There's no whole
there's no specific order. So
which I love that.
I'm inviting you to be the rebel that you are, and just let that part of you that is a rebel and just start with what lands with your soul at that moment. You can start with chapter 7 and go to, and that will be whole month. And then the very next month you go to chapter 3, and because that's what you need right now. So it's based on your need and what is it that your soul is needing at this moment.
And what is nice is that also, as you go through the whole book in an entire year, you can go back at it again, because the answer to the questions and the exercises probably will be different.
Completely different.
Probably because you have already taken care of those things. So when you revisit the topic or the idea, you have new experiences.
It might be a completely different experience that has triggered one of those emotions, and you need to work on it again. It's one thing that I always say: my books are not to cure you. right? They are there as a resource to provide you with strategies so that you can navigate the reality of mental health, and mental health is something that it has its ups and downs. And some months you feel much better than others, and these are all resources and strategies to help you navigate the complexity of our emotions and our minds and our spirituality that is so complex, and it changes from one experience to another.
To the next.
Yes, yeah, for sure.
Super. Now, something that's also very exciting to know is that as part of the book launch, you are doing what you're calling it a journey through today's working artists, where you will be working with artists, for 2 months.
Yes.
Going through parts of the book, starting with chapter 1, and kind of like once a week doing the weekly reading together, having a conversation. You're going to be doing this inside the Next Level program.
Yes.
And tell us a little bit about that journey, how it works and what do you envision will happen in there.
So first it's going to be from March 31st all the way until May 19th. So every Monday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, I'm going to go live through the Our Next Level program. And we are going to, as a group, we're going to read that reflection, right? We're going to go reflection after reflection. And it's the whole idea of going through that reflection, discussing the reflection, talking about it, and diving deeper, right, all of us together. Then we're going to go over the exercises that we're going to be committing to do that week, so that the very next week we're going to have accountability. Nice. So we're going to have a moment to go back and say, okay, this is what we committed to do. How did it land on you? How did it work for you? And just have that time, give ourselves this time for reflection, understanding, and acting, coming up with a plan so that we can address that issue that we are struggling with, and then come up with this accountability support system so things happen. So we take care of things. So it's what I'm envisioning is what is going to happen there is we're going to start with a guided meditation, so that we can reground and reset. Right? So we can restart that week. So we're going to start the week like that. We're going to be reading. We're going to be discussing, and what are your thoughts? What are your takeaways? What is it that is steering inside of you? We have that kind of conversation, and then we go over the exercises and commit to do it, and then become accountables. So it's a whole idea. Yeah. What I want to do is I want to help or support our student members to dedicate some time for self-care. And start your week, prime your week properly by starting the week addressing those issues that need to be addressed in order for you to succeed. Right. So I want to invite our student members, and you, hopefully, if you join us, right, to get into the habit of setting yourself up for success by priming your week and focusing on, or starting with, what's going on in here? Right. What's going on in here? Right. That needs to be taken care of so that I can experience a successful week, and Perfect. I can be more focused on what needs to be done.
Intentional, yeah.
And intentional. Intentionality is extremely important.
And what I love about it, which I want to reiterate, is that it's not like, oh, that sounds like a lot of work. It is not, because the chapters are short, the homework is short, but it's more about having access to the author. Like, I wish, like a lot of the books that I read, that I could actually have this moment with the author who wrote each word in the book, and hear more about their perspective, to hear more about their thoughts and ideas, and have an exchange with that person, right? And that's kind of what you are offering. You're a psychologist. You have a lot of experience working with people, working with the mindset, and we have access to you, through this journey, and of course, as well as inside the Next Level program, which you will find more information under the description of this video. So the book's already out. You can order it from Amazon. You can also get it at Barnes and Nobles. You can ask your local bookstore. If you have a community bookstore, you can ask them to order it so that other people can enjoy it. If you have a group or you are on an organization, you want to order a bunch of books too, you can do that. Contact us as well if you need any help with that. It's a great book, great companion to your studio practice, to your art career. We want every artist to have it. We want everybody to use it. Should be worn out
It
as you
should
use
be.
it, right? The sign that you're actually using and you're applying the things. Make notes, highlights, everything that you need to do. This book is for you to have to keep with you as well. So thank you so much, first of all, as an artist myself, for writing this book, for thinking about us on a weekly basis, giving us something to really, as the book says, awaken our potential. Our
Yes.
potential is already there. It's already within. We don't have to go and find it somewhere else. It's already within ourselves. Where
It is.
all you're doing is helping us open the door,
Yes.
helping us uncover it, undust it,
Yes.
and be mindful about grabbing that potential, and so that it can become and turn into success.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I truly believe on everything that you teach and everything that you also write for us. It's been also quite gratifying to see and to hear many other stories from the previous books that you have written as well.
Yeah.
And we expect also a lot more from this as well, as artists begin to go through this journey slowly and seeing things change in their career for good.
Thank you.
So thank you once again. Where can our friends
Yeah.
find you on social media if they want to connect with you, they want to follow you?
Okay, so in social media, Instagram or Facebook, they can find me at Dr. Yanina Gomez. And my website is www.dryaninagomez.com and www.theartistnextlevel.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Dr. Yanina Gomez. Thank you for sharing your insight here with us. And my friends, we'll see you at the next level. Goodbye.
Bye.
But wait, before you leave this video, if you are an artist who wants to grow your art career and wants to achieve greater success, make sure you check out the Art Next Level program. You will find a link under this video. Don't forget to subscribe and check out the next video that we have recommended just for you.